can go to another question if no one else. Let's see here. Question 3, and I paid very hard for my immigrant ignorance. Woo. That's a tough one for me. Let's see if we could unpack that one. I want to know if you all also found it a bit challenging. Would anybody volunteer to read number 3, please?
I can read. It's nice and small. I paid very hard for my immigrant ignorance. Was a challenging read for me. This is perhaps a result of ordering. As I read, I come with no illusions first. I come with no illusion depicts this ardent agentive subject who is fighting like hell to name and examine the structures of her life. The second text slightly baffles me, so I had to sit with it. Addressed to Black women's studies, mother, and central political actor in the Comanche River Collective, Barbara Smith, Cutanales letter interrogates the slippages and tensions between and among categories that attempt to stabilize and destabilize points of solidarity. This includes sexual orientation, gender, race, ethnicity, and class. Let's unpack this one. How did you engage a bridge? Asking a bridge to be a bridge? As the youngins say, make it make sense. Moreover, how might BIWOC ethically labor together when, as my Southern Black ancestor Fannie Lou Hamer said, all of us is tired. We are all overlooked, all underpaid, all asked to perform this work again and again.
Thank you, Kim. So it was difficult. I come with no illusions. And some of it is, the ordering, like, because in the previous, I come with no illusions. She is processing leaving this lover, right? But this is the very lover, and I pay very hard for my immigrant ignorance that she seems to be advocating for, right? So the ordering was interesting and the logics of that ordering. But I just was thinking, like, the very theme and of this book is this notion of being tired of being a bridge, being tired of translating, being that kind of, in between, if you will. Having to be that necessary liaison, whether you want to be that in that intermediary spot or not. And so it's so interesting because I almost felt like Quintanales was like asking Barbara Smith for permission to feel a certain way or permission to be honest about her feeling a certain way, And so again, I just said, okay, so the complaints of Black and Indigenous women of color having to be a bridge, but then you ask a bridge. So a bridge asks a bridge to be a bridge. The only difference is we're not translating for predominantly white women, but to be translating this kind of, if you will, Black experience, Black woman experience to women of color, Indigenous and other women of color. And so I just was wondering, how did that sit with you all, and just what you thought of this piece? Did the ordering trip you up too, or I don't know, just what were your thoughts?
The ordering didn't so much trip me up, but I think in terms of that idea of the bridge asking to be a bridge. That I think I recognize where the like discomfort or comes from, and at the same time, I also think that um, I have a whole way of looking at how to connect across difference that's kind of based in my understanding of nonviolence and and also based on my understanding of the impact of systemic oppression. And it feels to me that connection, that bridge connection feels necessary in some way because people, other non-Black people of color, no, it's not even that. There's not access to understanding what is happening in Black lives. So it's like, where is that? If it's not going to be that bridge, where will it come from? Because this came up actually in the conversation I was having this morning about how like it's like Blackness is like a thing, kind of like whiteness is like a thing. Like it's very unique, you know, like even amongst other people of color. And yet, in order for someone to actually see us fully, they have to go through their own filters of how colonization and white supremacy have impacted them. And so I think that such a query, I would like to see it like it's. I think it's that we're all better met if it's like gently received. Do you know what I mean? Because the truth is that you don't see the world is designed so that we don't actually see each other as people of color because that would give us significant strength over the dominant white culture. And so it like other forms of systemic oppression. Um, I wouldn't want to fault the individual for a systemic piece. So that's how I answer that.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, I like that,
And
Leonie.
I didn't necessarily see it as asking for permission as much as just expressing hurt at her sense of rejection by Black women. Um, and let's face it, we can be pretty rough. Um, and, and are not always patient and tender um, with people who don't know our story. So like I'm thinking about what she talked about being in college and knowing that, Jamaicans call themselves Jamaicans and Chinese call themselves Chinese and you know, and everybody has this ethnic identity. So what is Black? You know, what is Black? I can I mean, I knew people like her, so I can understand how confusing that would be if you don't know our story. And I mean, I think we have to be honest about there's a lot to know. And a lot of us don't know much about our story. We know our lived experience, but there's a lot still that we don't know. Mm. And, we only have one life to live and so much time in the day and so many things to do that I do wish we could be more gentle with people when they're trying to learn because it's a lot. Like right now, we're in this moment, they can't keep a Black book on a bookshelf. And that's wonderful because all of a sudden white folks are very interested in learning our story, and they've been in the older ones, generations of this book, they've been in those encounter groups where Black women ripped them a new one because they said something stupid, and our response is go read a book, figure it out for yourself. I'm tired of spoon feeding you, and yeah, because it's a lot to spoon feed somebody. But it's also a lot to learn, even if you're willing to try to learn. And so my only concern, right now that people are actually putting in the work is, I know that once you start to read our stories, it's hard. Our stories are hard. They're hard to look at. They're hard to consume. They're hard to hold on to. You want to read a couple of pages and go put it down, and you may not ever pick that book up again. Because it's that way. So I'm glad that white people seem to be taking a leap. And I hope they have the courage to stay on that path, because we are tired, and it is asking a lot of us to lead you every step of the way.
Thank you for that, Michelle. Yes. Anyone else?
I'll just say briefly that I'm at a writer's retreat this week on Zoom. And I'm so disappointed about that because I wanted to be in Miami, Florida. But it's Voices of Our Nation. It's a writers group for people of color. And it's the first time for me personally where I'm hearing so many stories of oppression from all different voices, different, in terms of class, in terms of just cultures, sexual orientation. It's just everybody's here and everybody's saying where their hurt is. And so to be able to listen with my heart, and there was one person, I'm not breaking anybody's anonymity, that they were just saying that they went through MFA programs and never read a book about a non-white person. And so all of a sudden you start feeling like, come on under the tent. Like you just want to grab somebody and say, come on under the tent. Come on over here. And so I always got that from Leonie, that she always just talks about when to widen your tent to include more people who may be going through something similar, so that you can relate from a lens that's bigger than the African American perspective. But at the same time, there's certain times where the African American perspective leads a lot of oppression and a lot of deep centered stuff where it can benefit other people to carry us and help us, and not ask us to be the folks who are always out front writing, doing the work. So I just think this is such a complex situation. And for me, my goal is to listen with an open heart, and any place where I can, if I have the resources and I can provide a bridge for someone else temporarily, I am more than willing to do that. I'm not willing to do it on a permanent basis, and I'm not willing to spend the last of my resources doing it either. Where I need help is when my white allies ask me to make them comfortable in this time. I don't know how to be in that space, but I think there's power in that space too. And it may not be those times where this bridge becomes a bridge. It may be when another metaphor becomes another metaphor. But I you know what I'm saying? It's just, I just think this is a time for me to keep examining myself and say, where are you now? What's going on? And this is the wonderful thing about this group. How do I get mothered through all of these iterations of working with different types of people in different spaces to help, to be a part of the solution, and not be locked in a rigid, something that looks like help, but is so small that if my help doesn't come on a Tuesday at 1 o'clock, I don't want it. No, I think that it really requires that I really have an open heart to listening, and where can I fit in, where can I be of help, and who can I mother through this. And it may be that I'm mothering a Japanese child, or maybe I'm mothering someone else, and somebody else is mothering my Black child. But I think we get bigger as we become the bridge to the bridge in temporary spaces. But if you're asking me to stay in that space permanently, that I will not do.
See, this is what I love about Kim. See, you already know she's putting the boundaries in place. See, Kim started with and she ends with, but it's not going to be permanent. See, that's what I love. Like, okay, it's time now. I've had enough.
Exactly. No, it's not going to be permanent.
That's what I love. Okay, anyone else? And Kim, I would also say, sometimes they need to get the coin ready to pay Leonie, to, participate in Leonie's workshops and so forth. They learn so much, there, because I'm starting to say to people, hey, I have a sister who she's wonderful, you see, and you know what, if you join the workshop, you walk away with something valuable.